Hello everyone. Today I will talk about the reading material on Chinese immigrant confront anti-Chinese prejudice, focusing on two documents, Mary Type's protest letter in 1885 and the Li Zhou autobiography in 1903. Both showed how Chinese immigrants challenged discrimination in America. This page, I want to talk about the key concept. The key concept in this resource include the Chinese Exclusion Act of the 1882, racist segregation in school, the ideal of the citizenship and the belonging, and the immigrant resistance against the prejudice. These concepts help us to understand how Chinese immigrants were treated as an outsider, even though many want to be integrate and contribute to the American society. In this page, I want to focus on the history context. In 1882, the U.S. passed the Chinese Exclusion Act, the first federal law that banned a specific ethnic group from immigrating. In California, Chinese children were often assigned to public school. One important case was the tape in 1885, when Mary Tape found for her daughter Mamie right to attend a white public school in San Francisco. Later, in 1903, Li Zhou published an autobiography where her citizens how Chinese workers were excluded from the job and constantly harassed. Together, those results highlight the long-lasting discrimination against the Chinese immigrants in late 19th centuries and early 20th centuries. For the social and economic context, in Chinese family face both social segregation and economic exclusion. Mary Type's daughter was forced into the Chinese-only school, even after he called Victor. She's argued if she is good enough to play with them, then is she not good enough to be in the same room and study with them? The Li Zhou described how Chinese worker was locked out of most job and pushed them into the laundry or service work. This two reading material show how discrimination was rooted not in what Chinese immigrants did wrong, but in fear and prejudice against their presence. This page, I want to talk about the argument. For the argument, Mary Type's main argument was the Chinese children deserved the same education as the white people. She condemned the racial prejudice directly. Right, it seemed no matter how a Chinese may live and dress as long as you know they Chinese, then they are hated as one. The Li Zhou, on the other hand, argued that the so-called cheaper labor fear was false. He wrote, "There is no reason for the prejudice against the Chinese. The cheaper labor cry was always a falsehood." He also cited the Congress, saying, "All the congressmen acknowledge the injustice of the treatment of my people, yet they continue it." Both also tried to convince America that the discrimination was unfair and hypocritical. In this page, I want to talk about why it is important and why we need to study this. These results are important because they show that the Chinese immigrants were not silent victims. They spoke out and resisted exclusion, even when the law and the society were against them. Their experience connect to other struggles in American history, such as the African American segregation under the Jim Crow and the Native American resistance to forced association. For the future connection, we can also connect these results to the present during the COVID-19. The Asian America faced a sharp rise in hate crime. Many were scapegoated and attracted simply because of their race. Just like Mary Type time, prejudice was based on the fear and stereotype rather than the truth. This showed how the struggle of the Chinese immigrants more than a century ago still echo in our society today. In the end, I want to conclusion. Merit tape and the lecture reveals how Chinese immigrants confronted the prejudice in different ways through the legal challenge and through the social critique. Their voice reminds us that the fight to equality in America has always included immigrants demanding justice. Thank you for your listening.